What do you do when total chaos breaks out and you are confined to your home for an extended period of time? In one of my earlier videos, I went through what you would need to have in what I termed a grab bag in case of an emergency and you had to get out in a hurry. This bag was only good for about 3 days, no more. After getting involved with one of the civil rights organizations and being exposed to some intelligence and information of what we might be facing here in South Africa soon, and after seeing what is happening with Eskom, as well as what the upcoming elections could bring, I decided to make this video to assist you to prepare for a totally different scenario. With the elections coming up, the potential for unrest and violence either in the lead up to the elections or immediately after them is very good. There is talk of a possible state of emergency being declared if things get out of hand. There is also the possibility of infighting taking place between the Zuma faction and the Ramaphosa faction. Add to this the latest developments with the foreign truck drivers and the locals threatening to kill each other, and you have a very volatile situation that could explode at any minute. So let's look at the possible scenarios, or a possible scenario you might face. Let's say that before the elections, violence breaks out between the two factions of Zuma and Ramaphosa. This spreads throughout most of the country, and the townships become a 24-hour free-for-all, with killings taking place all over. This would be the perfect opportunity for the foreign black Africans to be attacked by local blacks, who in turn will retaliate. This kind of violence will inevitably spread to the streets. In order to get away from their attackers, they will be fleeing from the townships to other nearby suburbs where they think it will be safer for them. In other words, where you and I live, only to bring the mobs after them. If anything like this should happen, I am sure that martial law or a state of emergency will be declared. In the case of martial law, everyone is confined to their houses and nobody will be allowed to drive anywhere in their cars. The streets will be patrolled by police and or the army, the military, who I can assure you will not be your friends at that time. Add the scenario to a total shutdown of Eskom and you have a situation of extreme danger while being confined to your home. In my opinion, this scenario is the most likely of all, and we all should be making preparations to be able to get through it. In fact, we all should have made our preparations already. So what should you do to prepare yourself for this kind of scenario? Firstly, you need to have enough stores of food and water to last you at least a month. Foods can be divided into 3 categories. These are wet stores, dry stores, and fresh produce. I'll deal with the wet stores first. Seeing that you are putting these stores together to be used either in your home or in the event of a possible evacuation where you have the time to pack either a trailer, a caravan, or just the boot of your car. In other words, you will not have to carry these stores anywhere. Their weight is not that important. I'll start with the canned food. You should only pack canned foods that have a high nutritional value as possible. In my opinion, foods high in protein should be the top of the list. Tuna, sardines, and pilchards are probably the best. You can also store things such as canned meatballs, spaghetti and meatballs, as well as vegetables and various beans. It might also be more economical to keep enough cans of condensed milk, which could replace both milk and sugar for use in coffee, etc. Remember that canned food is generally much heavier than dry foods and serve fewer people for the same volume. Keep enough cooking oil to last for at least a month. Remember, cooking oil is used in many cooking applications. Some cooking oil filters are a good idea to make the oil go as far as possible before you have to discard it. For dry stores, here's where I would spend the bulk of my money. Make sure that you have enough flour, yeast, and all other ingredients that will be used to bake bread, biscuits, and other baked foods that have a decent shelf life. Never leave out the trusty millie meal to make pap, etc. With a few additions, millie pap can be spiced up quite nicely and will fill the tummy. A reasonable supply of rice, samp, split peas, lentils, and dried beans are also a must. Make sure that you have enough sugar, salt, and various spices to last at least a month. But go lightly on the sugar. It is not a necessity and weighs a lot. Coffee, tea, and milk powder for those that don't like sweet drinks is also a good idea. Some cool drink powders such as Game should also be stored. You never know where you might end up if you have to leave home. The water might be very black and a bit of cool drink powder can mask it well. Bags of various pastas and spaghetti are always good to keep handy and can be stored for a long time. You can also keep packets of dry goods such as sago, couscous, and don't forget the cereals. Some cereals can be eaten dry. There are also a number of dry breakfast porridges available, such as Pronutro, Maltabella, and a few more that are light, nutritious, and very filling. They normally require milk to add to them, but in an emergency, I'm sure water will do. There are also a few that do only require water, such as oats and tasty wheat. Keeping a generous amount of these is a good idea. For when stocks of food run out, as a last resort, a good idea is to keep a tub of any of the mass builder supplements used by bodybuilders. It comes in big plastic containers, and 2 of them should last an average family a fair amount of time if they drink 1 or 2 shakes each per day. Stick to the basics. If you have bought what you think will be enough supplies for a month and you have some space left over, do not be tempted to buy unnecessary luxuries. Rather, fill that space with more of the above. Only then should you even think of stocking up on small luxuries such as sweets, chocolates, and chips to keep the children happy. Obviously, a good first aid kit is an absolute necessity and should include anything and everything to deal with any medical emergency that could occur. This will be anything from a runny tummy to a gunshot wound or a knife wound. I did discuss this in more detail in my previous video on this subject. For toiletries, keep a good stock of soap, shampoo, deodorant, toothpaste, and any female requirements such as tampons and sanitary pads. Also a good supply of disinfectant such as bleach, hydrogen peroxide, and hand soap. Remember, in the event of having to evacuate your home and to congregate in remote areas where the density of people is high, cleanliness is of utmost importance. Areas where makeshift toilet facilities are put up will have to be kept sanitary at all times, and for this, an ample supply of products such as J's fluid are an absolute must. The longer people live in close confines like this, the greater the chances of diseases breaking out, so I can't stress this enough. Also, you can never have enough toilet paper. Fuel. If you are confined to your home for an extended period of time and the electricity and water supply remain uninterrupted, you should be fine. But what would you do if the electricity supply went off? This would mean that there would be no water within 24 hours. Also, there has to be provision made for an evacuation plan if needed. It is good practice to keep your vehicle tank topped off at all times. Do not wait until the fuel light comes on before you fill the tank. Keep it topped off and full. Have at least the equivalent of a tank of fuel in containers that you can take with you in the event you have to evacuate your home. For cooking and a means to heat water for washing, etc., gas is probably the most efficient and possibly the cheapest. I would suggest at least a 9 kilogram bottle, but bigger would be better if you have the space for it. With this, you will need a gas stove. There are very cheap gas burners available that will serve you very well. I have a cast iron single gas burner that is strong and very durable. Big fancy multiple burner stoves are unnecessary and are just added weight and a waste of space. Shelter. In the event of you having to evacuate your home, you will need something to guard you from the elements. A decent sized tent that can comfortably accommodate you and your family is a must. With this goes all the regular camping paraphernalia, tools and technical supplies. Leaving your home without a set of basic tools and supplies would be a huge mistake. Pack a box with all the basic hand tools. That will be a set of screwdrivers, spanners, pliers, a hacksaw, and any other tools you might own that could come in handy. Do not forget to pack in a spade. You will need a spade to dig things such as rubbish pits and makeshift toilets, amongst other things. For defense, as always, being able to defend yourself and your family is extremely important. Make sure that you have many weapons in a variety of forms. Naturally, if you have any firearms, make sure that you know how to use them and that you have ample supply of ammunition for each of them. Make sure that your family know how to use the firearms. Carry a decent combat knife at all times and keep a well-sharpened machete where it can be reached any time. Remember, a spade can make a decent weapon if needed. This is just a guide, and a lot of thought needs to be put into your emergency supply of food and other items. Take the time to go through a typical day living in a remote area with your family under all weather conditions and cater for all as far as possible. Your requirements might differ from the next man's, but as long as you are satisfied that you can survive for a month on what you have, you're doing better than most. If you liked this video and got some value from it, please leave a like and share it on as many social platforms as possible. It helps to get Google to promote it. If you have not subscribed to my channel yet, now would be a good time to click that subscribe button. After that, click on the bell icon to receive notifications every time I upload new content. If you would like to support my channel and my efforts to prepare for a possible disaster here, I have provided a number of ways for local as well as international subscribers to contribute. See the description field for details. To those who have already contributed, I thank you and guarantee that your contributions will not be wasted. Until next time.